जैसे हमने बात की इंडियन इकोनॉमी की एंड द ग्रोथ, बट गोइंग फॉरवर्ड आपको क्या लगता है कि इंडस्ट्री स्पेसिफिक कितना पेन है? जैसे हमने बैंकिंग सेक्टर में देखा तो ऑलरेडी वी आर रीलिंग फ्रॉम द एनपीए कंसर्न्स. गोइंग फॉरवर्ड आपको क्या लगता है कि पेन कब तक कंटिन्यूड रहेगा, और बैंकिंग सेक्टर के लिए रिटेल इन्वेस्टर्स आप क्या सलाह देना चाहेंगे?
सो बैंकिंग सेक्टर के अंदर आई थिंक एनपीए का जो इशू था, इट इज गुड दैट इट इज बीइंग एड्रेस्ड because this thing has to come out of the closet and it has to be recognized as a problem. So good part is, I think a good part of the pain is already underway, and right. I would say within this year we should see the worst of the NPA crisis, NPA issues impact on the Indian balance sheets. As a fund house हम इस सेक्टर को कैसे अप्रोच कर रहे हैं वो मैं बता सकता हूँ आपको, और उसके बाद में ऑफ कोर्स रिटेल इन्वेस्टर्स के लिए अपनी कॉल लेना है उनको. सो हमारे यहाँ पे हम लोग अगर बैंकिंग सेक्टर को देखते हैं तो ओवरऑल एक बड़ा कंपोनेंट है ये इंडेक्स का, करीब 30% ऑफ इंडेक्स इज फाइनेंशियल सर्विसेज सेक्टर. तो हम एज अ फंड हाउस जब इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं इस सेक्टर के अंदर, तो हमने इनफैक्ट पिक किया है कि इस सेगमेंट के अंदर हम लोग ज़्यादा करके कंज्यूमर प्लेस को देख रहे हैं. So some of the companies or some of the banks which are more geared towards consumer credit, which is certainly a better quality growth rate, as well as does not have the NPA issues, that is a segment that we are focusing on.
All right. Or that means private sector banks.
As well as some of the NBFCs which are more efficiently managed, and that is a segment that we have played, and that works out very well.
Fantastic. Very quickly, we want to add something to it.
It is. We have a significant exposure to the NBFCs and the private sector banks, but it is not as if we have completely neglected the public sector banks also.
All right. Okay.
Because in the public sector banks, the stronger ones amongst the public sector banks have a significant reach in the market, and in the last few months were available at a valuation which was about 1/2 of their last 15-year average valuations, which is something that you cannot ignore.
Right.
And therefore, while PSU banks definitely have an NPA issue, as Suresh mentioned rightly, they are being addressed. We are happy that they are being addressed in the right manner, and we don't want to miss out on that opportunity totally, and therefore we have a reasonable exposure in
Fantastic. IT आपके पोर्टफोलियो का कितना परसेंटेज है और कितना लार्जर कंसर्न्स बना हुआ है? नाउ अभी वी हैव बीन हियरिंग दैट इन्फोसिस को एक लार्जर कॉन्ट्रैक्ट था दैट हैज बीन विथड्रॉन, एंड वी हैव बीन सीइंग सम जॉब कट्स एज वेल, बट गोइंग फॉरवर्ड IT सेक्टर से आपका क्या एक्सपेक्टेशंस है? जस्ट इलैबोरेट ऑन दैट.
It's an important sector which generates for the economy. It's very important.
Are you concerned with the recent news flow that is coming?
See, I am not, completely apprehensive. There is obviously a concern.
Okay.
But I can't think of any industry where there are no concerns. Any industry there will be some concerns, some negative news, etc. So if everything were positive, probably you will not get in these stocks at these valuations.
Fantastic. तो retail investors को क्या strategy adopt करनी चाहिए इसके लिए?
The retail investors, you're asking specifically about IT or about the market as a
IT.
whole?
Before we move on to the other sector.
It is not sector specific. The retail investor should have a diversified portfolio. The retail investor should diversify his investments across several installments. That's the advice.
Fantastic. फार्मा सेक्टर को आप कैसा देखते हैं, और यहाँ से लेके गोइंग फॉरवर्ड कौन-कौन से अपॉर्चुनिटीज हैं ये सेक्टर स्पेसिफिक, इफ यू कैन जस्ट हाईलाइट, और आपकी क्या सलाह रहेगी उसकी?
See, the pharma sector is not a monolithic industry. In the pharma sector itself, there are sub-segments like companies that cater to the intermediates production, the companies that are in formulations, and companies that are in generics kind of business. So, and there are companies which are catering to the the biotech space also. So I think within the pharma, it's important to diversify across these 3 or 4 categories. You can't overload the portfolio only in favor of the bulk drugs or intermediates companies, nor can you overload the portfolio in favor of formulations companies. It's best to have a mix of both.
Right. श्योर. गोइंग फॉरवर्ड हम मार्केट्स की अगर हम बात कर रहे हैं, इंडियन इकोनॉमी ग्रोथ पर्सपेक्टिव आप कितना ग्रो होते हैं वो देख रहे हैं, और यहाँ से लेकर कौन कौन से ट्रिगर्स हैं, इफ यू कैन जस्ट हाईलाइट देम गोइंग फॉरवर्ड, जो दैट कैन डिरेल द बिग एक्सपेक्टेशंस?
देखिए, कोई भी मार्केट विदाउट रिस्क तो नहीं होता है, एंड अभी जैसे मार्केट में थोड़ी पॉजिटिव एक्सपेक्टेशंस है जीएसटी को लेकर, एंड अभी बेसिकली फीलिंग ये है कि जीएसटी जो इम्प्लीमेंटेशन है कैन बी एज अर्ली एज नेक्स्ट ईयर.
श्योर.
सो अगर कुछ डिसअपॉइंटमेंट होता है उस पर, तो वो एक हो सकता है इम्पैक्ट नेगेटिव, या फिर आपको अगर ग्लोबल लिक्विडिटी में डिसरप्शन दिखते हैं, दोज आर द काइंड ऑफ रिस्क दैट वन कैन विटनेस.
गवर्नमेंट इनिशिएटिव्स को आप कैसे रेट करते हैं फ्रॉम योर?
नो, ओवरऑल आई थिंक गवर्नमेंट इनिशिएटिव्स हैव been in the right direction.
If you can highlight few, that's what.
Sure, maybe Sundaram, you wanted to take that?
Certainly, the GST is an important step forward, but GST is obviously a collaboration of all the parties, which we saw recently. The emphasis on linking the Aadhaar card with the mobiles and the bank accounts, I think that's a very good initiative.
Fantastic.
The bankruptcy code which was passed, the bankruptcy law that was passed, is a very good initiative. We think that the emphasis on improving the soil productivity to soil fertility cards and things like that for the farmer, I think these are very good initiatives. So there are several initiatives which we are comfortable with.
Going forward, what are the challenges do you see from the newly appointed Urjit Patel साहब जो September 6 से अपनी पोजीशन संभालने वाले हैं? What are the challenges, if you can just highlight few?
So एक चीज़ तो ये है कि आप अगर पिछले गवर्नर की इनिशिएशन देखें, जिस एनवायरनमेंट में रघुराम राजन ने चार्ज लिया था वर्सेस आज के एनवायरनमेंट देखें, तो आज की एनवायरनमेंट काफ़ी हद तक बहुत अच्छी है. पिछले गवर्नर ने जब चार्ज लिया था तो इन्फ्लेशन जो CPI है वो करीब 10% के आसपास था.
बिल्कुल.
इंडियन करेंसी काफ़ी वीक थी, हमारे फॉरेन एक्सचेंज रिजर्व्स काफ़ी डिफिकल्ट सिचुएशन के अंदर थे, एंड वहाँ से जो है हम लोग इस वक्त काफ़ी कंफर्टेबल सिचुएशन में हैं, बोथ फॉरेन एक्सचेंज रिजर्व्स के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से.
राइट.
लिक्विडिटी अगेन ऑफ द सिस्टम इज रिजनेबली ऑल राइट, रुपी इज रिजनेबली स्टेबल. सो ओवरऑल आई थिंक मैक्रो इकोनॉमिक बैकड्रॉप जो है वो इस वक्त both growth as well as stability perspective से काफ़ी अच्छी है compared to what it was 3 years back.
All right.
Oil prices and a lot of other factors have contributed as well. So I would say that, but at the same time, the new challenge that has come in today, which was not there possibly as much in light about 3 years back, is the bank recapitalization, for example. बैंकों का NPA issue जो है वो पिछले करीब 1.5 साल की देन है. तो there would be some challenges which come in, and second of course is as the global liquidity probably at some stage normalizes from an excess liquidity and low interest rate regime, does it have some implication for a country like India? So you can't always factor in everything that will happen, but there would certainly be some new issues that come up. But I'm sure good part is I think the current team is very capable, and I think appointment of Urjit Patel, if anything, shows the continuity of the thought process that Reserve Bank of India has been following so far.
Sure.
So it's a change in the man, probably not in the change in the manner of RBI.
Fantastic, very nice lines. Change in the man, but not in the manner. And he already said that continuity fund house का एक indication तो आपने दे दिया है, but कितना rate easing आप देखते हैं going forward from here on?
It is unlikely to happen in a hurry, but it's reasonable to expect that over the next year or so, it's possible that about 50 basis points will reduce.
All right.
But it also depends a lot on what is the interest rate movement in the other major economies of the world.
Sure. As a mutual fund house, you are very optimistic. It seems to be going forward. Market कौन से level पे देखते हैं 3 years from here on? If you can just highlight that.
See, over a period of time, I think Indian market has delivered. If you look at 15 years, and I refuse to probably get drawn into very short term. Over the last 15 years, the market has delivered between 16 to 18% return. Now that's a very strong rate of return from a long-term perspective. Right. And for mutual fund investors, very frankly, I would again probably focus their attention slightly to longer term. And one of the things that you were asking earlier, म्यूचुअल फंड में काफ़ी सारा इन्फ्लो जो है अभी लोगों का SIP के रूट से आ रहा है, लॉन्ग टर्म के लिए आ रहा है. सो देयर इज नो रीजन टू बिलीव दैट द लॉन्ग टर्म ग्रोथ रेट ऑफ इंडियन इकोनॉमी वुड बी any worse than what we have witnessed in the last 10-15 years. So we expect the same growth rates in the economy to continue, and therefore, by implication, even the market to continue growing at good rate.
Fantastic. Your closing comments on that, as सुरेश साहब ने तो rightly point out किया है कि SIP के रूट के द्वारा investors invest करते रहेंगे और यहाँ पे market can reach a substantial level. What do you think? So, what is the message you wanted to give to the retail investors in this current scenario?
Have a reasonable expectation from the stock market. It has always been volatile, it is volatile, and it will continue to remain volatile.
Right.
So just because it is volatile doesn't mean it is bad. A volatility actually is a reminder that we should spread out our investments rather than come in one particular instance. So just spread out our investments, have a reasonable expectation from the market. I think what Suresh said about 16 to 17% rate of growth, if you keep it for the long term, it becomes tax-free. 17% tax-free return is actually a very, very good return. This is the only message that we can give to the retail investors.
17 to 18% return is a very good return. That's what message Mr. Sundaram has given. Your closing comments, sir. What is your message to the retail investors from here on?
No, I think retail investors are already making a smart choice over the last few years. In fact, one thing that is very heartening is that our mutual fund SIP numbers have now reached almost about 1 crore.
Fantastic.
So, and there has been a continuous growth. But at the same time, it is just tip of the iceberg. Many more people can choose this route.
Sure.
This is a very clearly proven vehicle which has delivered significant return over a period of time. Managed by expert, it has added value to the clients, and about 85 to 90% of the mutual funds have always been able to do better than the benchmark over a long period of time. Look at this route and join the SIP route which is available to you. And if you have comfortable otherwise at certain points of time, if you want to add up lump sum, but that's right. But ideally, spread your investment, stay invested for long term.